I have my opinions about Barca fans, but this delusion, bro, I can't stand for it, man. I really can't.
Hello and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your coach Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, y'all?
Folks, thumbs up on the video right now. We had some incredible action all across world football. I mean, bro, results in the Americas, in the Intercontinental Cup,
Yeah.
La Liga, big things happening there. Premier League too. Where do we go today, man? A lot of big news.
I guess let's just start off by congratulating the best Liga MX team there has ever been, América Tricampeón.
Dynasty,
bro. The best team that has ever played, I think, in Mexico. And when you really look at it, I think it makes sense to say that, truly. And I think when you just look at the last three seasons, Apertura last year, the Clausura this year, and the Apertura this year, América have been the most consistent team in Mexico. And I think that's what really separates this team from any other team in Mexican history is the consistency factor. They show up every single time. They have the technically best players, especially compared to most opponents in Mexico. And I think that's why they won their third straight title, bro.
dude. The names of this squad, it's honestly like a super team. Anybody can score on this team. Zendejas, Henry Martin, El Búfalo. Today, Richard Sanchez with an absolute gorgeous golazo. I mean, my God. And on top of the consistency, the way they won it this year, I think ultimately proves to me that this is the best team that we've seen play on Mexican soil, because they were terrible throughout the regular season. They were dealing with so many injuries. But once it came time to focus and get into the playoffs, La Liguilla, and take over, I saw a team that had experience, that had expertise in this field, and knew exactly what to do when it mattered the most. And they stepped up and took care of business, bro. Because ultimately, despite how dramatic those last 10 minutes got in Monterrey, America was the better team throughout both matches. They were the better team against Cruz Azul. They were the better team against Toluca. They proved themselves to be the best team in Mexico once again, despite not really trying during the regular season. That's scary, bro, because had they locked in, they could have had another incredible year points-wise. They didn't have to, though. They're lifting the trophy once again for a third time. And it's important, I think, in Mexican lore, because there's been so many arguments in modern Mexican football about who's been the best team. León won 2, Atlas won 2. And now America was in that conversation, having won 2 just last tournament. But with this one, bro, they separate themselves. And ultimately, they render any argument useless. With 3 trophies, this is the best team that the league has ever seen.
Yeah, and truly, when you just look at the squad, it makes so much sense. Their transfer business over the last couple of seasons has been spectacular. You know, there was a time when Diego Valdez was the best attacking midfielder in Mexico, but he went quiet this season. And they just get Victor Dávila in the transfer window, and he just is able to come in, give some really good minutes. They've had Jonah Dos Santos. That was a really good get. He's just an excellent midfielder, makes very little mistakes. Fidalgo, he's ultimately been probably the best central midfielder in Mexico since he came here. He's so consistent. He's such a good passer. He's been the focal point of this America midfield during these championship winning seasons. And then they just always get very good dynamic attacking players every single year to either end up being very impactful or to just give minutes off the bench. Aguirre, I think, is the perfect example of that. He can come in, make a really big impact off the bench. You can start him from the get-go. He's just that type of guy. But then you have players like Zendejas, man, who just very technical, honestly low-key unstoppable when he really gets going in this league. That's the players that America have. It even at the back, bro, like Reyes, for example. He's really come into his own. Malagon, one of the best goalkeepers in Mexico. El Chicote Calderon. Kevin Alvarez has had actually a really good season, man. He's been playing fantastic. So they just have the technically better players, and when they lock in, I don't think they can be beaten. So I'm very curious to see, since their team is so stacked, bro, I think they can go for 4.
They get the 4.
I think they can go for 4.
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not.
And the thing is, I'm not going to rule them out anymore. Even if they have a terrible start to next year. If they're good, if they're in the Liguilla, I have them as favorites. Yeah. If they have the core of their players, which they will have, bro. Like, this team is stacked. They're so deep. Jardín has managed them so well. Dude, imagine they get into another final and then get in the conversation for that 4 trophy. This will be just domination.
Yeah, it's prime city shit. Yeah. It really is, where they just can't be beaten in the league just whatsoever. And that's another thing, though. Again, nothing against America, but where's all this transfer business on the rest of Liga MX, man? Like, where is it? I feel like Tigres have been riding the coattails of Gignac for so long. And they've been happy with that. Obviously, it has worked, but I just feel like Tigres has been pretty poor last couple of seasons. Pumas are always feisty. You know, they get one or two good players here, but it's never consistent over the course of multiple semesters. Monterrey, I mean, they have good players, right? Canales has been fantastic. Scored a banger in the first leg. Oliver Torres is a decent midfielder. Ocampos was a good get, but that without Ocampos, it was very clear that Monterrey really don't have anybody to attack a team like America. So I'm just like, where are all these big name players not in America? They're not really showing up right now. I remember Santos, like years ago, they used to have like 2 or 3 stars on their team. Santos haven't been relevant since like 2019, man. So I just think the rest of the Mexican league is kind of falling behind as far as remaining competitive with their signings. Cruz Azul have done well, and obviously we saw how that ended. They got close, kind of, but they really did try, and I'll give them that. Toluca have done some work, but ultimately they just can't match up to the depth of America.
That's the word right there, bro. Depth. I don't think any other team has that.
No.
I don't think any other team has that. I'm interested to see what Cruz Azul can do next season, just in the terms of maybe having a fun narrative follow outside of America. But for the rest of the league, bro, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. There's nowhere near as much depth. These teams are going to have, you know, really ambitious transfer windows to even be able to compete, I think, with America. So something to keep an eye on. But you're right. When it comes to depth, I think that's what separates America from the rest of the teams. And it's going to continue separating America from the rest of the teams. Americanistas, from a Chivas fan, congratulations. Big moment here. I mean, it's tough for me to say, but they best team. Like it's undeniable.
It is.
This is greatness in Liga MX, and America has just fully taken over the league, and rightfully so, bro.
Yeah, and I am so genuinely curious to see how far they can take it, man. They're just so good when they play. They're so technically better. Truly, I do think they can go for 4, man. So I think that's going to be a really fun narrative next year. Even if America have a lackluster season, they can just turn it on the playoffs as they did this time.
How far can they take it? That's the same question I have with Pachuca. Staying in the Americas as Pachuca pulls off an incredible penalty shootout comeback, defeating Egypt's finest, Africa's finest, Al Ahly, 6-5 in penalties after a very tight 0-0 game that went all the way into extra time, then into the penalty shootout, and we saw a crazy 2-goal comeback in the penalty shootout to then eventually lift and give Pachuca the victory over the African giants. And now Pachuca is slated to face off against Real Madrid in the final of the Intercontinental Cup.
Yeah, what a gift for Pachuca. I think they've definitely earned it. They were clearly the better team against Botafogo. And honestly, against Al Ahly, this was very, very tight. I think either team would have deserved to go play Madrid. In this case, it was Pachuca with a nice penalty shootout finish. But you look at the game, the 90 minutes, the extra time, this game was neck and neck, truly. Al Ahly, I think they won the midfield battle. Every time that Pachuca tried to get on the ball in the midfield, Al Ahly were excellent at closing down the space and honestly getting the ball. Problem is, Al Ahly's offensive line, I think, is one of the weakest I've seen it. Because when they would win the ball, and they won it a lot in the midfield, they didn't do anything with it. I mean, they would go forward, but Pachuca's back line, especially with Micolta, who I thought had a great game, they dealt with it very, very easily. Pachuca didn't really get stretched against Al Ahly throughout this entire game, but you can say the same thing about Al Ahly's defense. They didn't really get stretched either, and that's why I was a little bit disappointed. We saw some crazy moments from Idrissi once again. He's got those twinkle toes, bro. He's just dribbling around, just dropping players left and right. Couldn't get the goal, though. Rondon was a little bit starved of service. They also came on in the second half, but couldn't really change the game. So Al Ahly's defense from a midfield and backline perspective was basically perfect, but so was Pachuca's defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why going into this Real Madrid-Pachuca matchup, I'm actually not that worried for Pachuca's defense. I'm worried about how they're going to be able to score any sort of goals.
Yeah.
If they need that. If they concede one goal, might be done. Because I don't see how they can really crack this Real Madrid defensive line that is miles better than Adali's, bro. And even then, I think Pachuca's game plan might be to take this game the long route and see it all the way out to penalties to then have a shot at defeating Real Madrid, which there does exist that opportunity. But it's going to be a tough ask, of course, because Real Madrid is just a big name, a big team. But honestly, yeah, I'm more concerned about the offense than I am the defense when it comes to facing Real Madrid, because I think their defense, especially with Mikolta in this form, bro, that guy's looked great, bro, leading that back line. I think they're going to be able to keep the game very, very tight.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes. I'm just begging for 20 minutes of clean sheets.
Yes.
That's what I'm begging for, because if they can get to that 20-minute mark, they'll start gaining confidence, and I think the defense will be able to shore itself up. But, if Vinny just gets going in the 5th, 10th minute, I just don't really see Pachuca getting back into the game. But that should be their game plan. Absorb a lot of pressure and use Idrissi and Rondon as pure outlets. That's it. Don't commit too many men forward. Just defend. And you do have the guys that can be clinical if given just one or two chances. They do exist on this team. So I think it's a decent game plan if that's what they decide to do. I just don't see them winning the midfield battle at all. And as you already said, their offensive line is just going to be weak. So I really think they should just purely counterattack, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the prospect of the game, though. I really do. I don't think I see Pachuca getting blown out here. Give me a tight game, and please, football guys, just give me one. If I could get two, that'd be nice. But one opportunity where Rondon is on the end of it or Idrissi is on the end of it. Just one opportunity. And if they miss it, fine. Yeah. I'll accept it. Yeah. I'll accept it. But just give them that opportunity, because, man, I'm just envisioning Rondon one-on-one with Courtois, and it's 0-0, and boom, he scores. They go 1-0, and suddenly Real Madrid gets nervous. They get nervous the way we saw this weekend, and they end up falling into a really tight game. I mean, if Pachuca pulls off the win here, this would be Liga MX history, bro. This would be incredible. It'd be an incredible week for Mexican football.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I'm not even gonna get my hopes up, but I will be cheering for Pachuca. I love these type of matchups.
Absolutely.
They're so rare, and honestly, I'm a little scared. I'm just a little scared that Vinicius, Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham are just gonna start cooking and ultimately run this Pachuca side ragged. I hope that doesn't happen, and I don't think it will, just because Pachuca's defensive form is actually very good right now, but I still get scared of the prospect that Madrid could just turn it on.
Absolutely. No, they always have that, especially against a team like from CONCACAF. They can definitely turn it on. Despite the results that happened within their league, let's shift on over to Real Madrid in La Liga, where they ended up tying Rayo Vallecano 3-3 away. They haven't won at Vallecano since 2016.
What?
Pretty crazy, bro. It's a tough place to play, I guess, if you're a Madridista, man. Crazy. And this game was just end-to-end, a must-watch match. One of the best games this weekend with 6 goals total, back-and-forth football. Real Madrid going down 2-0 at one point, but then Valverde and Bellingham tying it. Rodrigo gives them the lead, and then my boy, Isi Palazon, tying it around like the 60th or 70th minute to make it 3-3. And now Real Madrid ultimately ends up dropping points in this game and remains a point behind league leaders Barcelona and your very own Atletico Madrid.
Atleti, baby.
Yes, sir.
Atleti. We're right there. We're back in it, man. We've made up 13 points. We've covered a lot of ground in the last 5 weeks, bro. But for Madrid, honestly, for me, what really stands out is the potential of Rayo Vallecano, man. They could do so many great things if they could just do this on a consistent basis, but they can't, right? No. But that's the fun part of Rayo Vallecano is once every 3 or 4 games. It's not very frequent, but it does happen at least once a month. Vallecano plays some good ass ball, bro. Yeah. They play some good ball. That first goal, De Frutos, man, turning Fran Garcia inside out, bro. A beautiful ball delivery to get the lead 1-0 at the time. Rayo Vallecano, Isi Palazon as well, just really showing the ball skills that a lot of these Spanish players have. It was a great game for Vallecano in this sense, and I do think they deserve the draw.
Yeah, but I'm with you on that aspect of wishing they could play up to a high level consistently, because I mean, even guys like Isi Palazon, I was looking at his stats because I've loved the guy for so long now. He had a good year last year. I think he only had 2 goals, 1 assist this entire year going into this match. And then he balls out, goal and an assist in this game. I'm just like, man, I think that represents the whole team. Why can't we get these 9 out of 10 performances every week? I think they have something personally against Real Madrid because, good Lord, they always step up against them. But I think that's what keeps them from being a top 6 team in La Liga or even top 10.
Yeah. And for Madrid, I think this is a somewhat lucky result, truly. You think about Valverde's shot, I mean, perfection, absolute perfection, but that's what it took for Madrid to get on the board. And then Rodrigo ends up scoring a goal that was ultimately freakishly deflected. So Madrid, I think, do get a little lucky, but I think they deserve the draw because they did have really good moments throughout this match.
They imposed themselves ultimately in that game, but they end up dropping 2 points, getting a draw out of this game, and it's a title race that nobody wants, man, because likewise, let's go over to another team that dropped points. Barcelona losing 1-0 to Leganés, coming off of a very interesting week for the Give and Go, my friend, because we had one of our most disliked videos on YouTube midweek when Barcelona went on to defeat Dortmund 3-2, but then we quickly made sure to highlight and honestly critique what we thought were some very apparent and glaring flaws in this team. Yeah. And obviously a lot of Barca fans didn't like that we, criticized them after a victory. I can understand it on some level, but still, my friend, we made a reel out of it. That went a little viral because people once again did not agree with our criticisms, but I think there was something good. There's something true there that we were trying to express, which is the flaws that we've seen from this Barca team are concerning when it comes to the big picture of Barcelona. And the fact that they follow that Dortmund performance up with this game, bro, I think solidifies those concerns, man. Barcelona goes goalless in this game while Leganés gets 3 full points.
Yeah, what really pissed me off about the commentary on midweek for the Barca game against Dortmund was the accusations of Barca hate. That really grinded my gears, bro. Because I'm just like, bro, like, I mean, I have my opinions about Barca fans, but this delusion, bro, I can't stand for it, man. I really can't, because even before this loss, by the way, against low side Leganés, Barcelona have only won 2 La Liga games since October,
since the presidential election.
Exactly, bro. We are in mid-December and they cannot win in La Liga. Yeah. They can't do it. Atletico were 11 points behind them at the start of November. We're right there. We've cut the deficit to 0. We didn't cut it in half. We're not within 3 points. We are dead on with Barcelona now. That's how poor Barcelona have been. And I can't believe the viewpoint that a lot of Barcelona fans took against that win against Dortmund. Y'all barely beat Dortmund. You barely beat them. And the only reason why you beat them was because Dortmund themselves could not finish. It wasn't Barca's own volition that they kept Dortmund at bay. It was Dortmund's poor finishing that actually cost them the match. Barcelona have had a lot of problems these last 5 weeks, and I'm going to point them out, bro.
Yeah, bro,
I'm going to point them out.
It's
really not hate.
I was glazing Barca
we were.
the first 2 months of the season because they deserved it, but since then, it's gone absolutely downhill. I think before this game, they had dropped points in 4 out of 5 league matches.
Poor.
And then I just don't think it's a good thing to rely on Ferran Torres to be your savior in a Champions League match. Shout out to him, a brace. But, bro, if that's what it's coming down to, that's a concern.
Yeah.
So I highlighted that. You highlighted defensive issues. And then they followed up with this game, bro, where Leganés, 17th place, Leganés takes it to Barcelona away from home, scores an early goal off of a corner kick, and then just sees the result out with Barcelona unable to get a goal and get back into this game. I mean, I'm just being honest, man. I really do think we're trying to be objective here. I don't have any hate towards Barca. I don't have a favorite team in La Liga, so I have no bias here. I'm just saying it's time to sound the alarms when it comes to Barcelona and what they're trying to achieve this year, because I see them as potentially a Champions League contender if they can get it all right. I see them potentially as a La Liga champion if they can get everything right. But right now, bro, they're not on that path.
No, not at all. And that's what also really confuses me about the Barca fans' viewpoint is, even without this game against Leganés, which is very poor, more drop points. Before this match, how can you be happy with all the points you've dropped in La Liga? You can't be happy with that. Letting Atletico cut a deficit of 10 points within a 1 month time span, that's pathetic. Not just because you're Barcelona. That's not why I'm saying that. I would say this if this was Liverpool doing this as well.
Okay, watch your mouth.
I would say this if this was happening in Italy, if this was happening in Germany. Barcelona, after beating Madrid at the end of October, really established themselves as the best team in La Liga, but since then they have proved otherwise. So we have to point it out. You can't. I'm actually very confused that the Barcelona fan isn't upset with their own performances.
That's what gets me, man.
Like, are you
That's
like?
what gets me.
If this was Atletico, dude, oh my god, bro, I would be so upset. I would be, dude. I don't know where my mental health would be.
Yeah.
I really don't know where it'd be. Having a 10-point lead against one of my rivals, and then a month later it's gone. I just wouldn't be happy. I'd be criticizing the shit out of my team. So I'm very confused that Barcelona fans get very, very defensive. But I understand it. You got to protect your team. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I definitely get it. But we're not here to criticize them because we hate them. We're criticizing them because they've been very poor for 5 weeks.
No, absolutely, man. With this result now, it's your beautiful Atleti that benefits from this the most, I would say.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Likewise, just how Barcelona has been struggling, I would say Real Madrid has been struggling too, man. I mean, really weird results these past couple of months. And it's Atletico who has been the most consistent Spanish side these past 2 months. 11 straight wins now with a 1-0 victory against Getafe. Sorloth getting on the board with a beautiful header, man.
Yeah.
Atleti is flying high, my friend.
We're doing so well. I think what's really surprised me, I talked about the offense midweek and how it's really flourishing. Julian Alvarez seems much more settled. Antoine Griezmann going off. But one thing that has really shined as well over these last 11 victories, our defense, man. We're reaching almost prime defensive Atleti again, where I actually feel very comfortable against most La Liga sides that we probably won't concede. And I haven't really felt that in a long time. Our defense, basically since 2019, has slowly dwindled every single year. And at the start of the season, it still was pretty leaky, but we've actually had several clean sheets, and our defense is looking fantastic. We got Barcelona coming, though, next week.
Dude, I can't wait.
And that's going to be a hell of a game.
I can't wait.
It's going to be so defining as to where both teams really are. I'm not going to really take a lot from this Getafe match. I haven't taken much from Atletico's victories because they have been against mainly very lowly sides. Barcelona's a big team. And if we beat them, we will establish ourselves as league leaders, definitively right over them. And there's a lot to gain here, not just from a point perspective, but also to see, can Atletico play against a good team, especially a good offensive team? And I'm very curious to see if our defense can handle, Lamine Yamal. I wonder if he'll be healthy, because I believe he's going to undergo some tests to see if his muscles are okay. That's going to be interesting. But also, can we contain Lewandowski? Can we contain Rafinha as well? I think it's going to be a hell of a game from an Atleti perspective. And for Barcelona, I mean, they got to start winning, bro. Yeah. They have to start winning. And this would be a big opportunity for them to get a massive 3 points over their rivals.
Who do you have winning?
Honest.
You've been cooking this year, man. Been cooking.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Barcelona, Real Madrid. This is the next big one on the list.
I think, honestly, just based off of form, I it's going to sound obvious, but I'm going Atletico.
Yeah.
I really do think we can get the win. At the very least, we'll draw. That's where I'll put it. I don't think we'll lose this match. I think our defense will do enough to not concede that many goals, and I trust Griezmann, Lino, Alvarez to at least get us a goal.
I'm for him. It's Atleti who should be favored. It is away from home, though, and first big test for Atleti. I got a draw coming out of this one, but ultimately, I think that's a good thing for Atleti, man. I think it's a good thing, because if you had given me a draw for Atleti 2 months ago, bro, this would have been seen as a huge victory given what their form was and what the place was in the standings. You draw against the top team in the league, keeps you right there in the race, and honestly with a little bit of an advantage going forward. So I think that's really good for Atletico. And what I'm noticing for Atletico is, honestly, the Argentine influence has been really good so far. I want to highlight basically all the Argentines on this team. Julian Alvarez obviously is starting to get way more comfortable now, scoring some golazos, bro. Shout out to him. You already highlighted him. Molina had the assist on Sorloth's goal, and it was a beautiful curler of a ball. I really liked his performances as of late. And then Rodrigo de Paul has actually been scoring as well, sending some pretty good balls as well. I've liked his positive impact in this team in these past couple of months. And then Correa just coming in late, subbing on, and being clinical ever since his PSG goal. Even before that, early on in the season, he had late game winners. Correa playing his role perfectly. And then the last Argentine, Diego Simeone, just seems to have figured something out, bro. He truly has with this whole team. I'm so curious to see how high this Atletico Madrid team can go. Is it ultimately just beating these lowly sides, or is it going to Barcelona Stadium and getting a freaking victory, bro?
Yeah, I'm so excited. No matter what happens, I cannot wait for this game. Rare to get big matches in La Liga, so when they come around, man, oh my God, man, I get a little nervous, but I get so excited. It's gonna be fun.
Are you officially back in the title race? Like, are you officially title contenders, or do you need to wait more games?
I just need to see how we play against Barcelona. Okay. But we haven't really played against an offensively elite team, man. The only one I think I kind of consider is PSG. But I want to see how we play against Barcelona. If we play well against them, then I would consider us title contenders. But if Barcelona dominate it, end up winning it out, then I just don't think we'd be able to do it over the long run.
Yeah, I think with how shaky Madrid and Barca have been, if Atletico beats Barcelona, bro, beats them 2-0,
yeah.
I think they're fully in the title race conversation. You should start getting pretty excited at the prospect, because I think with the result like that impacts mentalities, bro. And I could see Barcelona just struggling from then on out in the league specifically, while Atletico just continues their win streak, dude. So, I mean, it's going to be a fun week in La Liga specifically, because that title race is getting ridiculous, just like the one happening over in the Prem. Over in the Premier League, we have some great action. And let's just start off with Liverpool-Fulham. Liverpool-Fulham, 2-2 result at Anfield, as Andy Robertson gets a red card about 19 minutes into this match, and ultimately shifting the perspective of the game, as Liverpool then goes down to Fulham off of an incredible Anthony Robinson assist and performance. My goodness, absolutely took it to Trent Alexander-Arnold, or whoever was in that fullback position. Had a great game for Fulham and made it tough for Liverpool, as Liverpool looked to get those 3 points and fought as much as possible, getting back into this game, making it 1-1 with a Cody Gakpo goal and Mo Salah 100th assist. Fulham then responds, goes up 2-1, and around the 80th minute, Liverpool's able to get back into the game once again, being down a man, with Diogo Jota scoring an absolute peach of a goal to make it 2-2. Liverpool leaves with 1 point, but honestly, bro, it felt like 3 given the circumstances that we were thrown into.
Yes, that's my takeaway. This is a massive point for Liverpool, basically damn near a win considering the circumstances. Having a red card in the 20th minute, tough, really tough. And that's another mistake by Robertson, by the way. He's been a little mistake prone this season, and hopefully that doesn't bite them in a big knockout game, man. Because he outside of Robertson, everyone else has been almost flawless. So I think that's just something to at least keep an eye on for the rest of the season. Where is Robertson going to be headspace-wise?
And it's becoming a pattern. That's the thing, because this is pretty rare for him to do, but the penalty that he gave up a few games ago as well. This happening. I mean, his touch on the ball was so poor in that play that he just completely took out, I think it was Harry Wilson. It was just awful. I was like, fuck, Robertson. This isn't good right here. And the fact that Anthony Robinson put in almost like an audition in front of Anfield like that, I mean, I'm seeing such a big disparity between what we could have in that position and what we do have in that position. And it might ultimately end up being a liability.
I wonder. And I think that's going to be really fun to see Robertson's form for the rest of the season. Honestly, when Muniz scored for Fulham to make it 2-1, I was like, wow, Liverpool are dropping points. But dude, the way Liverpool mounted that comeback, the last 20 minutes, it seemed like it was 11v11. I couldn't tell that they didn't have an extra man compared to Fulham. I couldn't tell. It was ridiculous. They absolutely dominated the ball. They were attack. It's a championship winning side right there. That's how you respond. Even down a man, going down a goal, it's as if it didn't even matter. It was ridiculous. I think if it was 11v11, Fulham would have had a good game still, but I think Liverpool would have won this one outright. And I think that's the bigger takeaway here is, yes, it's points drop for Liverpool, but all things considered, this was a really good second half performance for them.
Yeah, this was a display of character in my opinion. This was like seeing a guy go 1v100, zombies, like just a character giving it all, because we should have been against the ropes. I think if this happens to any other team in the Prem, they go defensive. They don't attack as much as Liverpool did and look as imposing as Liverpool did. The character that they showed, being down a man and being willing to go that aggressive and be successful in that approach, I think just kind of shows that championship grit, but also kind of highlights what I am considering the blip in our season so far is like these past 3 games. We end up tying Newcastle in a game that was also a big test and a big shootout, and also in a way kind of felt like we came out with a victory, in my opinion, because Newcastle came to play that day, and they were ferocious, honestly. And then the game against Girona wasn't one of our best performances, but we still get 3 points out of it. Fulham here, Andy Robertson mistake, we end up tying 2-2. I think in the grand scheme of our season, this will probably be the lowest point, and the fact that we came out with still, draws and a victory in the middle of it, I think shows where this Liverpool team is right now. So I feel good as a Liverpool fan, honestly, about what I've seen so far. But it is interesting because there is a team trying to enter the conversation right now in Chelsea.
The second best team in the Prem.
Yeah.
Truly.
Pretty clearly.
It's very clear. And don't even look at the table. I think if you just watch every single Premier League team play, and if you've been watching the last month, I think it is very clear that Chelsea are the next best team behind Liverpool.
Yep.
Just the way that they play, the way they move the ball around, the way they dominate the midfield from a defensive perspective, and then the way that they just have guys who can dribble, penetrate like no other. Madueke on one side, Sancho on the other, and then Palmer anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. Goals are coming from all sides today. Cucurella getting a really good header, honestly, off of a beautiful delivery from Madueke. So Chelsea have goals galore throughout this entire squad. I think their only weakness really is that center back pair. I've mentioned it 2 months ago. It became apparent again in this match, letting Brentford back into the game a little bit. Chelsea's defense is just a little shaky. They don't have a superstar defender to really guide that back line, and I think that's ultimately why they won't win the Premier League this year. But my God, dude, they're like one piece away from being true title contenders.
And that's why I want to give them so much credit, because they remind me of an earlier version of Liverpool. Before we got Van Dijk and before we shored up their defense, we were known for having a potent offense and a fun team to watch. But I feel like they're right in that stage of not having the best center back pairing, but then also the experience. I think in the Premier League, to grind out results for an entire season, I mean, I think Arsenal has shown that that's an incredibly tough thing to do, and it takes a toll. I think given Liverpool's advantage right now in the table and just the experience that they have, I think that's the biggest factor that Chelsea's ultimately going up against. There was an interview where they asked Cole Palmer after the game against Tottenham if he saw Chelsea as a team that was in the title race, and he responded with, "It's too early. It's a little too early." I don't know if he meant in the sense of the season or just the team's mentality and experience, but I took it as a little bit of both, because I do think it's a little early to still consider them as actual genuine title contenders. But when you look at points, when you look at performances so far, they've looked great, and they're slowly improving just this entire season. I think they're slowly improving. I want to see it ultimately culminate in, a Europa Conference League and hopefully some big results against bigger teams.
And what's really interesting is when you watch Chelsea play, God, it's beautiful football, man. The way that they pass the ball around, they're all so technically good on the ball. It's just it's eye candy, man.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous to watch. Only thing is Nico Jackson as well, man. I think if Chelsea had, imagine if they had Lautaro Martinez, or imagine if they had Julian Alvarez, John Duran as their number 9, he'd be scoring 30 goals a season. I really do think so. Jackson is just, I don't think he's a clinical finisher. Very active, though, and I think that's why ultimately he's the starter, and he will get a lot of goals this season. But if you had a true finisher, he'd be getting 30, 35 goals.
Damn, man. I will say they are so fun to watch, truly. So and I'm glad that we've reached this point in Chelsea's trajectory, that we finally got over the whole mixture of having great names, great talent, expensive talent, but not finding a way to make it work. Maresca, thank you. Thank you so much. If you're a Chelsea fan, you should be thanking him like no other, because he has completely shifted the culture and mentality around this team, and the way that he has him playing, I think really shines a light on the previous coaches before him and what they were doing with this. I mean, basically the same talent as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Jamie Carragher said a week ago, this isn't an underdog story for Chelsea. They've spent over $1 billion to build this team.
That's true.
So it's just
about time.
It's about time. This is actually where they should be.
I agree.
Realistically, they should be title contenders. They should be one of the best teams in the Prem. So they're finally just realizing their potential. But you're right. I think it is Maresca. It's night and day how this team plays with Maresca versus other coaches. So he's done wonders. And you can tell on the sideline, bro, when he beat Brentford today, pure elation. He knows that his guys are really running the football pitch. They're dominating it, and they're playing the exact football that he wants to see, and they're executing it perfectly, man. So Maresca and Chelsea right now are on a really good rise.
And he knows he's not losing his job, dude. Like, good Lord, the way that they've absolutely gone through managers, finally one guy is here to stay. It's not, never mind. He's not the stepfather, he's the father that stepped up. That's what I was going to say. And in terms of other big results, I guess Manchester is red.
Dude, implosion.
Yeah.
Dude, what a piss poor way to lose a game if you're Manchester City. Both goals incredibly avoidable. You have a 1-0 lead late into the match. Mateus Nunes gets desperate, lunges into a tackle inside the box, creates contact, and there's a penalty. And it just, the way that he lunged, the way that he went for it.
He lost his head.
I was like, bro, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't that dangerous an opportunity. I understand he's in the box, but just size up, man up, defend. Don't lash out, man. And you give Bruno Fernandes an easy goal, one of the best pen takers in the Premier League. It's just a terrible, terrible way to give up a goal. And then the second goal was so simple. A nice easy ball from Lisandro Martinez, finding Amad Diallo, who honestly does very, very well to pop it over at Ederson, finishes it brilliantly in stride. United win the game 2-1, but they steal it.
They steal it. They steal the result, and there was apparently between both goals, there's a 115-second gap.
Yeah.
Isn't that fitting? 115. That you also have Manchester City with 1 win in 11 games. I can't believe that's a sentence,
My
man.
God.
I can't believe
it's
that.
shocking.
It's truly shocking. Amorim's best game so far as a manager, I would say, with Manchester United. And another crazy stats, I'm just ringing them off right now. Apparently, Ten Hag didn't have a single away victory against a top 6 side in 3 years.
I believe that.
And Amorim already broke that record.
Yeah.
Right? So that's pretty interesting in regards to just this Manchester United team. And so I agree. Manchester United is ultimately red here. They steal the result. I'm mad with what a incredible performance, stepping up late and exposing this Manchester City defense. But how much does it truly mean, man, when Manchester City is playing this way and Man United as well is trying to regroup? How much meaning does a victory like this have for Manchester United?
For United, I think it's just a confidence boost. That's nothing more. I don't think this is momentum building. I don't think this is really growing to anything. Amorim still has a massive job to do with United in terms of getting them back on track to actually vie for a Champions League spot. I don't think the team is anywhere close to Champions League level football. So yeah, it's a good win, but in the grand scheme of things, there's so much work to be done.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're really talking about football and football that matters and that has an impact, I think we should look at Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, my friend.
Exactly.
Because this is a team, these are two teams that are actually above both of these squads in the standings, with Nottingham Forest kind of in the same way as Manchester United, waking up in those dying moments and flipping the result to win it 2-1. John Duran starting this game.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking crazy on this pod, bro. We have a point to make here. He starts after we brought that up just a few days ago.
I saw it. Yeah.
And what did he do, bro?
You got to go.
You got to go.
He did got to go. Funny, though, in the second half. That's the funny part.
That's true. And then Anthony Elanga subs on and scores the winner after Milenkovic has scored the first one to tie it up. Elanga subs on. Beautiful, nice finish. A team that finished in 17th place last season now remains in sole position of 4th.
This is a big win for Nottingham, man. You look at where they are in the table. This was a spot for 4th. This was a battle for 4th place. And Nottingham won. I think they've solidified themselves right now as the 4th best team in the Premier League. And it is really interesting to think about. But when you look at the teams that are right there or right below them, I think Nottingham deserves to be right there, bro. Yeah. Truly, I think this Forest side definitely could beat Manchester City right now. Mm-hmm. This Forest side just beat Aston Villa. They've already proved that. I think this Forest side could beat Brighton as well.
They just beat Man United. That was the last game.
There you go. Exactly. So I think right now, when you look at the teams that are right below Nottingham fighting for 4th, I think Forest could at the very least go toe-to-toe with every single one of them. This is going to be fascinating to see Forest try and fight for a Champions League spot for this rest of the season because I think the way that they're playing, we've noted it the last couple of months. It's that consistency that's really surprising us. They're so solid in the midfield, very good defensively with players like Murillo, for example. And then up top, man, they're just non-stop. They're relentless. And one of my favorite footballers, Morgan Gibbs-White, man, he is so necessary. We talk about Odegaard being instrumental for Arsenal. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is that. He's a very valuable player for Nottingham. He needs to be on the pitch if Forest want to actually try to finish in fourth place. He needs to be on the pitch. That assist for the first goal, brilliant touch on the inside, beautiful turn, and then just the awareness to send it inside to Milenkovic. It's perfectly executed. He's a straight up baller, bro. He's so tight on the ball. Brilliant to watch. And that's just Morgan Gibbs-White because the rest of Nottingham is playing so well.
Yeah, there's a stat I saw about Morgan Gibbs-White that I think is a little unfair to Odegaard, but is interesting. In the last 3 years, Odegaard 19 assists, Morgan Gibbs-White 20.
Yeah, I think
More assists. Although I see Odegaard's more of a pre-assist type of guy.
Yeah, true.
You know, but still, man, that's super impressive. Like,
Yeah.
he's been cooking for seasons now, man.
cooking, bro.
At the highest level, and he showed it here today. And Nottingham Forest, I mean, just secures fourth place. They've looked incredible so far. Chris Wood, I brought up last week on the pod, is the all-time top scorer for this club now with, I think, 27 goals, 28 goals. It's just incredible what's happening right now for Nottingham. Their fans look super excited, and the games are just so fun to watch right now. I think a big part of this is Nuno Espiritu Santo and what he's been able to do. And honestly, his adjustments within games, I think, is super impressive. Ever since he did against Liverpool, where he brought on Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi in the second half and completely took the result in his favor, he's been good about subbing players on when it's needed the most. And it showed tonight with Anthony Elanga subbing on and getting the game winner, man.
Actually, yeah, dude,
He's cooking.
Great point, because the moment Jota Silva also came on, immediate impact. He's really using his depth very well, even though I wouldn't really consider Nottingham as a stacked team, but he knows when a player can change a match. He's doing a brilliant job from a coaching perspective. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, man. So shout out to him. Nottingham Forest in fourth place. Aston Villa loses.
Villa. It's the same problem, and I'm surprised there's just been no changes. They lose the midfield battle. They don't have the midfield to hold on to possession and to try to take it to their opponent. Unai Emery tries to play a back five, right? He has Cash and Digne as the wing backs, 3 center backs, and 2 holding midfielders. The job is usually given to Tielemans and 1 other midfielder. This time it was Camara, other times it's Onana. But either way, this 2-man midfield is not working. It's just not working, man. It would work if the wing backs were actually good. Matty Cash ain't it, bro.
Not anymore, bro.
He's
not
just
in 2024, bro. I'm sorry.
So he'll do a lot of work for you. And I understand his work rate is very high, but he's not getting past players. He's not holding on to the ball. So all of a sudden, you're asking your midfielders to do twice the work as far as possession is concerned. And then Digne is honestly not that much better. He really isn't. So the style of football that Emery's trying to play, it just simply doesn't work with the personnel that they have.
But where's Ian Maatsen?
That dude, I know.
Is that not the fix, bro?
I know. And the only role that Maatsen has been reduced to this entire season is just scrap minutes.
Yeah.
Garbage time minutes, bro.
Yeah.
He's only using the last 5 minutes of the matches,
That's
bro.
so disappointing.
It's so disappointing. Considering how good he was for Dortmund, dude, just put him in.
Or let Dortmund have him, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
Let
Lord.
somebody else have him because he's being so wasted here. And again, I'm putting this on Emery. I don't understand why he doesn't try to change it up. Clearly, they are losing the midfield battle. They just purely rely on their clinical finishing. The thing is, they have it, right? John Duran is ridiculous. He's a monster this year. So that's why Villa are in the position that they're at right now in the Premier League. But I just don't really see it culminating in anything because there's a massive error right in the center of the pitch.
Yeah, it's a flaw. It's a big flaw, and slowly it's been exposing itself more and more as the season progresses. And I think finally it's at a point where it's just not going to change. I think, man.
No.
I think this is what Villa is. They're the 5th, maybe 6th best team in the Prem, and I would like to see them be better because they do have the talent to be better. Even in the Champions League as well, they're not doing too bad there. But if they want to be able to compete in that round of 16 and take down a big side and go into the quarters and go deep, like how maybe I had thought they could, I don't see that right now for their future, given how they're playing right now and how Emery's honestly managing them.
Another team that I'm actually very disappointed in, allied alongside Villa, Brighton, man.
Oh, man.
Brighton, bro.
Oh, man.
They had a great opportunity against Palace today at home to basically get right underneath Nottingham Forest, to get right there, fight for that fourth place position. We've been talking about who is the fourth best team in the Prem. I don't know if it's definitively Forest, right? Right now it is, but I think Brighton should put themselves in that conversation, and they had a great opportunity to do that today, and they got killed.
Oh, dude.
They got killed, bro. 3-1.
Apparently, I didn't know that Crystal Palace were their rivals. And so there was like a personal edge to the game as well.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace kicked their asses, bro.
Yeah, they did.
Oh my God, they were celebrating in the corner. The fans were going crazy.
Yeah.
We're talking about a Palace team that at one point was fighting relegation and is just in that classic Palace mode of being in 15th place, you know? Yeah. And they took it to Brighton away from home and scored 3 on their heads, dude. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
You can't take that from your rival. Like, show some pride, man.
Yeah.
Given how much talent you have, I would have expected a much favorable result. When I saw that it was 3-1, bro, I was like, what the hell is going on, dude?
Yeah, and I watched the game, and Brighton had good moments, but this is the problem with Brighton, and this is why I never get too hyped about them every year. They just go through these weird runs where they just don't win. They just all of a sudden lose form. Even Mitoma, just not as clinical. A lot of their players are suddenly forget how to shoot, man. And this is just what happens every single year for Brighton. It's so frustrating because the potential and the talent that they have is ridiculous. There was really good moments in this game for Brighton. Julian Enciso coming on in the second half, doing really, really well, creating a lot of chances. But they just can't find the back of the net. Palace does very well to absorb the pressure and then hit them out on the counter. Scored 3 very good goals. Ends up being a pretty comfortable win for Palace as they defended brilliantly. It's a masterclass in defense. But for Brighton, I'm just very disappointed because with their offense at home, they should be beating a team like Palace. But it's these inconsistencies that kill me about Brighton.
Is it worth bringing up Arsenal?
Yeah.
Tying 0-0 to Everton, man.
Odegaard on the pitch. Kai Havertz on the pitch. Saka on the pitch.
Martinelli.
Merino. Are you kidding me, man?
The whole team is there.
The whole team's there.
Everybody's there. The fans are there. I mean, it's a full-out, sold-out stadium. After 16 league games in 2022, they had 43 points. In 2023, 39 points. In 2024, 30 points.
Yeah.
It's slowly been going downhill for them when it comes to Arsenal and the at least points accumulated. Granted, they were still in the title race last year, but they're 9 points off of where they were last year at this moment in time.
Crazy.
And with their inability to really get a goal in this game, the moments that we've seen them struggle in the league, I get concerned for Arsenal because I really hope this doesn't translate over to the Champions League because I see them as being more successful there. But if they're unable to score against an Everton team who was feisty and is led by Sean Dyche, who's very good at this style of football, taking on lots of pressure, still, I'm a little concerned for what their ceiling might be this year.
Yeah, this result really showed me that this is who Arsenal is. They're a great team. They can get very good wins, and they're a top 4 side. I think they'll finish in the top 3, actually.
Yeah.
But they, especially this season, it seems like every other game or every 3 games, they're just not fully up for it. And they can't find those spaces to penetrate low sides. And they famously struggle against sides that bunker in. And it seems like Arteta still hasn't figured out how to change that. Yeah. And the players haven't figured it out either. Anytime a team just bunkers in, parks the bus, Arsenal really struggle to get a goal. It's even more apparent this year, honestly. And so, yeah, I don't really see Arsenal really in the title contention anymore, man. Again, I think they'll be in the top 3. There's still a chance, but I just think the way Chelsea's playing football right now, obviously the way Liverpool's playing football right now, Arsenal have a lot of ground to cover if they want to play up to that level.
Yeah, and it's also interesting seeing a lot of people start to get on board as well with Martinelli, man. I think they were at their best when there was a winger that matched the output of Bukayo Saka because the options were ridiculous. You got Odegaard in the middle cooking, hands it off to Saka. Saka can give you whatever you want. And then Martinelli at the time was basically doing the same thing, bro. At least numbers wise, the fall that we've seen from him, man. I'm seeing Arsenal fans on X and online express a lot of want and desire to ultimately replace him because his form this year, I think, is a big reason for why offensively they've struggled much more than than they have these past 2 years. And then obviously Havertz can be on and off too. He's just not as reliable as we would hope he would be. He had a hot start to the season, but I think he's cooled off a little bit now. I think those two players specifically are just ultimately holding Arsenal back from their true potential.
Dang, yeah. And the Martinelli one's just unfortunate because the way he played last year, man, you would have considered he'd just do the same thing this year. I actually did not see a downfall of Martinelli happening. There's just no way. I don't think anybody did. I don't think Arteta expected this to happen. And I guess that's why they didn't really go into the winger market over the transfer window. So this is just bad luck. It's just bad luck for Arsenal, but you just got to be prepared for it. And honestly, for Martinelli, man, I don't know what happened. Yeah. I really don't. He still works hard, gets the occasional goal here and there, but he was so effective last year. This year he's not.
Yeah, big point here for Everton. Arsenal remains in third, and the title race is looking fun, with Liverpool leading it right now and Chelsea being a great team in second place. It's closing hour in the Americas, honestly, as the MLS has come to an end, Liga MX has come to an end, Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana, and today the Argentine League came to an end. Final round of match days being played, and I had highlighted in last week's episode that it was up between two teams tied on points, but with goal differential in favor of Vélez Sarsfield, going up against Huracan in this last match, whereas Talleres, who was in second place, going up against Newell's Old Boys. I had prefaced that maybe we get some crazy drama, you know, if Talleres was able to win their game and Vélez Sarsfield gets into a tight match and maybe they're tied. I mean, that'd be the league decision right there. That would be the outcome right there. But ultimately, the decision was made easy with Talleres losing to Newell's Old Boys, I believe 3-1.
Wow.
And Vélez Sarsfield taking care of business and defeating fourth place Huracan 2-0 to lift their first league title since 2013. Vélez are the Argentine League champions and nearly had the double, as earlier this week they competed in the final of their domestic cup tournament against Central Córdoba de Santiago, but lost 1-0. Lost 1-0.
Damn.
And ended up having to settle for the league title.
Honestly, not bad, though. I need to catch a Vélez game simply because I want to see how they really match up to Racing. Like, I just need to know.
Racing had a shot.
They were close.
Because they got on a winning streak,
They got on a crazy winning streak right up until the final. And then right after the final, I saw that they had a really good opportunity to be like within 2 points of Vélez, but they lost a crazy game like 4-3.
Yes. And I mean, ultimately, since it looks like Vélez got the results needed, I don't think they would have caught up points-wise.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. They needed to drop more points.
But still, man, Racing could have. Oh, man.
I know, man. That would have been crazy.
That would have been crazy. That would have been crazy. So Vélez are the champions, but I agree. I would love to see how they compare against just other teams in bigger stages, bigger settings. But for now, they can celebrate their first trophy in over 10 years. Big for Argentina, big for Vélez Sarsfield. Shout out if we have any Vélez Sarsfield fans listening to the podcast.